here?
Yep.
Why don't we get started?
Morning.
Call the meeting to order, our new time, 6:30 plus. Welcome everyone. Why don't we'll do our normal round of introductions. I'm J.D. Miller, board chair. Let me go this way.
Leslie James, board member.
Janice Desmond, board member.
Janice LeBlanc, board member. Karen Canfield, board of selectmen liaison.
Joan Powell liaison for South Shore Elderly Services.
Henry Ye, board member. Steve Kirby, Vertex OPM for the Senior Center project.
Linda Hayes, director of the Senior Center.
Welcome everyone, thanks for coming. I know we've got some minutes, so why don't we jump into those and do those quick reads we can approve or edit.
I did condense them a little bit so they fit on one sheet, front and back. Otherwise, thank you to Janice for the
Yes. Yours.
No, I printed it.
Anyone have any edits, comments? Last month's board meeting minutes?
Well, I presume some of those items have follow-up.
Potentially, right? They seem obsolete. Right.
Like the Sean.
Anything?
Wow.
Oh, Shine.
Shine, Council.
Okay. Yep, I mentioned
Yeah.
that.
In candidates.
Oh.
Is it, yeah, it's there.
Mhm.
Will they re-announce them? Or not yet?
I will see,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I will.
Anybody have any comments or edits? And can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Second.
Second.
Very good, thank you. And then we'll move to the follow-up.
Okay, oops. Well, welcome everybody, thanks. Well, 6:30, how'd that work out? Good?
Too late.
Too late. Well, the first item in my report happens to be GATRA Executive Director, new hire, which I've been involved in since really, gosh, July, maybe earlier. So we thought we'd made a decision in mid-September last time I was reporting to you, and then I didn't learn really until early this week that the offer had been extended the way we thought it would be to an out-of-state person
Oh.
who could just walk into it. He was really perfect, but coming from Pennsylvania. Anyway, long story short, of course, something was happening there, and then they extended that offer to him, and that meant no moving, and so he ended up coming back and reneging on the job. And by that time, of course, we tried offering it to the second one, and she'd already taken another job, because they were both very good. So,
Where was she?
she was sort of from all over. She was from out of state, and she was relocating too. She ended up going to Arizona instead. We met with a third person today, so honestly, sometimes things do just happen. Now, we hope he'll take the job, because really, he'd be great. He currently works for the Rhode Island Transit Authority, but I really liked him more than I remembered, because the others sort of just kind of obscured what his talents were. He's more of a planner, but has risen. So anyway, we are extending an offer, the committee that is doing the interviewing, but it's possible we may turn it down, in which case we have to re-publicize the position and start over, because there was an internal candidate. We like her very much. She's very capable, and she's been doing a lot of the job, but just not all of the job. And as you can imagine, at that level with Catherine, with a lot happening at the state level, you need to have a lot of PR savvy, and that's where she just didn't quite have that experience yet. But we wanted to make sure she was mentored by the new person coming in, and all of that is really just because Gatra's been a very big part of the COA resources, and so it's just important to know what we're getting, and hopefully to continue to not only move in the direction that we've had with them, but also maybe to see new things happening and make sure that we can sustain the transportation services or even improve them. So that's been a saga. Board policies, Janice and I, we reported last time, had gone before the Board of Selectmen, but then I just went the next week for final revisions and approval by them, which was fine, and that's done. New Shine Counselor appointments are filled through November, so with our new Shine Counselor, he's only coming twice a month, and so 2 times in October, 2 times in November, 4 appointments each time, and they're already filled. So we have been waiting to meet with another volunteer who was going to come in and meet with us this week, and then had to put us off until next week. So we are hoping to increase that, but in the meantime, Jenny may be doing a little bit more of the back end work in terms of open enrollment, Medicare options and open enrollment, which is really largely about the drug searches. So it's about matching people's prescription drug plans through Medicare or the supplement with what the types of medications are that they use and how they will get the best deal. So she can do more of that, and otherwise, we just hope some informational sessions. So actually, we have one on October 28th, Tuesday, 2 weeks from now. So that'll be covered, and we do try to do that anyway, so to lessen the one-on-one appointments that people need for that activity anyway. So I might have mentioned that in the report later, but also that will be the date that we will honor especially a longtime volunteer with a commendation from the Board of Selectmen, and Patrick Kearney will come as well from the state. So at the beginning of that presentation, we will make a presentation, and then we'll have the information presented. So I did do the first.
I should know, when's
Okay.
open enrollment start? Is it
Next week, I believe,
Yeah.
the 15th.
Middle of October,
The
right?
15th, October 15th, yeah. Until, bless you.
So I mean, that's gonna kick up people asking
Well,
questions and.
Well, that is what the appointments probably thus far are, but we do try, if that's really all they need, then there's some paperwork they can do ahead of time. The search, if someone needs to do the search for them, can be done offline. They don't really need a full hour-long one-on-one appointment
Yeah.
just for someone to do that, so we try to steer them to the open informational session and then just try to help. Norman used to do it literally at home.
Yeah,
Often, he'd get the paperwork, he'd do it, he'd send it to them, and
Yeah.
they were done.
yeah,
And that was on top of the 4 appointments,
that he had.
3 times a month or 4 times a month.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And believe me, he made it clear to me that he didn't think we were getting enough from, enough appointments. But we're working on it, so we'll see how we fare. I don't know if everyone here might have received the email last Friday, so the first constant contact. It was a draft
Yeah.
run, it was nice. You know, we can do email through Outlook with emails from my senior center. It's not very pretty, and it's a little awkward, let's just say. So this is not that much different. We still have to export the email addresses. We still need the email addresses. We export from Excel. But constant contact is much easier and nicer to work with further. We hope to keep it short enough so that people read it, so sort of a regular set of features that they can kind of rely on.
I thought it looked good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Worth the money. I don't know what I waited for, but
I read it and I said, wait a minute.
when did that
This is
happen?
constant contact, what?
It's about time.
Yeah.
I know, everybody
Looks
uses
good.
it. It's just a little late to the party.
Looked good.
So, I did have a conference last week, which was great, actually. I went for 2 days of the 3, it was in Danvers, and it's the annual MCOA, and I didn't think it would be that good. We get the program beforehand and maybe make some workshop selections, and I thought, I could probably skip it this year, but you know what? I went, and it was very good, better than I expected, exhausting, so, worthwhile. The town administrator was the guest speaker last week at our men's breakfast, which was very nice.
Very good.
Yeah, great for him to come out, and, I think the guys
Yeah.
kept him busy for the 45 minutes he talked to me.
Well, the 3 topics that he covered
Mhm.
was very good.
Right.
Yeah, very useful.
Wonderful.
Can you tell us what they were? Or is it all within the map?
No.
All in the map?
Well, no,
Yeah,
not
it's
really.
a men's
No, it
only
did not
thing.
give away to men.
I know.
No, we're not allowed to let this information
We
out.
had other personal questions. No. Let me see, one was about
Well, the senior center.
the senior
We talked
center.
about the senior
Yeah. And, let me see, the others, well, one that I asked about the lighthouse and then Cedar Point, the
Oh,
So-
yeah.
the water,
Yeah.
yeah, problem. Let me see, what else did,
Address most of the town issues that.
yeah, the town issues, right.
I left after the senior center.
Oh, you did?
I did, I had to get back to work. Oh, it was nice, though, he's a good
If I think
speaker,
about
and
it.
they appreciate it, and they did ask him some questions, that was off topic.
Yeah.
So I'm also working on the formula grant budget. I just have not completed that, the annual report, which both go to the state, the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, and then my municipal budget, which is due next week. So that starts, that process is a little bit earlier than it used to be, but that's good. And the other stuff seems to be a little later than it used to be, so now they're converging all in October. SCTV Seth had taped a session of my Tai Chi group, which was nice. September was Falls Prevention, Falls Awareness Month, and I was hoping maybe to get sort of a PR video out there for a few of the programs that we do that target falls prevention and, in classes, but I think we'll just continue it. So he did that, and he's been putting that together. We did some interviews with a few of the participants, it was great, really nice. I started a new session and had 20 people there, which was fabulous, because really it is something that most people come to eventually. Not just the idea of Tai Chi, but it's probably recommended. It just is. It's naturally thought and known to be effective in helping to prevent falls. But we also have 3 times a week balance class. And we teach a matter of balance once a year at least for the 6 or 8 weeks that that program runs, and we're planning to do that this winter. But, so it's nice all year round that we can address that, so Seth has agreed to do that for us. The family fun walk was Sunday, it was good. It was nice weather, and it was respectable, and I think it felt like there were a lot of walkers. Some people did bring some kids, which was nice. We did have Nonas. I have some wristbands for people because I did get wristbands made, so if you weren't there and you didn't get one and you want one,
Was it more than last year, or?
I would say a little more than last year, yep, a little more. So, it was worth it, I think, everybody. We had a couple of very, what do I want to say, interesting walkers that really made it what it was. Someone a little slower who walked with her daughter the entire walk for the 2 miles, which was something to be said. And another woman who was challenged a little bit and made the full 2 miles. So that's what it's for, to bring people out, to let people know that everybody, whatever the ability and or, the age can do that and enjoy it, and it's something we can do together. I ended up having to run the last half because I realized I was last, and I don't want notice to leave, we were all spread out, so I had to get back to make
Getting to
sure
run for an ice cream.
there's more people. Well, not so much for myself, but just to make sure that they waited for everybody, because I never said that. Anyway, happy to have our watercolor painting class instructor, Joanne, has returned on Mondays for people, so they're thrilled to be back as well. Thursday night, when it's not the board meeting, we do have the painters who normally came for Joanne on Thursday nights, coming anyway and painting by themselves. It's great, we're glad to have that. So I do mention the open enrollment informational presentation on October 29th, I guess, at 1:30, so that's a Tuesday. We also have a lifestyle panel on November 5th with some local professionals who offered to present information for adults in transition, whether it's they're at retirement age, whether they're looking for additional resources or needing assistance in areas, that are often, difficult to decide about whether it's housing transition or insurance or financial requirements that they need for moving on, preparing proper documents. So that will be, I think, it should be well attended November 5th. The Thanksgiving luncheon at the River Club, so far I'm at 115, we can go to 180,
Wow.
which is good capacity, it does have good capacity there, so we could make it, it is no charge, we are getting a band for her, so between the friends or maybe all the friends in the senior center, we're providing a nice jazz band with a vocalist, and Angela and George Lazarus it's complimentary, so everything, all seniors are welcome. So the Age-Friendly Steering Committee met in September. We did it actually in 2 dates because everybody couldn't come the same night. So just to try to get further along with this, we didn't really meet during the summer. So we have decided on the Live Well Scituate moniker, and that's assuming we don't have to get further approval, but Live Well Scituate, a community for all ages. Caitlin's been in touch with AARP as she's sort of the intermediary for us as a volunteer. And we do need to have our action plan by next spring, next June. So that's where we're working at this point to gather as much data and input from the community as we can to inform the action plan. Basically, this is the assessment stage. So between the 2 meetings, we discussed the listening sessions we want to go out to, that members of the steering committee, and I'm mentioning it here as well because it could be we need more people going out, or more people who have groups that meet, that we could then bring materials to, and just the postcards, which I do have a couple copies. So Caitlin's created a short, very short, just introductory explanatory video that could be shown anywhere. And maybe not, even just explained in an informal setting. But let's say it was the Rotary Club, or the PTOs, or any of the church meetings that might happen after services. But then the postcard, it's simple, 3 simple questions, actually 4. How would you rate Scituate in considering the needs of its older people, with a set of selections? Name 1 to 3 things that Scituate does well for its older residents, 1 to 3 things that you think are challenging for an older person in Scituate, and do you have any suggestions for improvements that might benefit older and younger people in Scituate? So it's simple, and it's just a beginning. So there could be more done, maybe there'd be a larger survey, so I'm not sure, but this is what we've talked about, the listening sessions for just community input, really around the same questions, and maybe the use of postcards and some other means that might gather that same data. That said,
So, Karen, so what we're hoping is to identify some specific and float those up to a master plan.
That was exactly what I was gonna say.
Right.
So in case you haven't wrapped
Yeah.
around all this. but
Yeah,
that's
Right.
it will be very
talking.
valuable.
so the timing is nice, and Brad's been to a few of our meetings, so he's informed some people of what his plans are, and then that end result is one of the next, I guess there's 3 of these informational, again,
2 more,
community
yeah.
forums to talk about the master plan and get input from the master plan. And also Mark Fenton, who's on the Age-Friendly Steering Committee, is on the master plan committee. And he's amazing, of course, and he's talking to us and he's talking to them, so we trust that good information is getting to them. But I did think, and I will ask Brad if maybe we could bring something and bring some materials and sort of have them coalesce with what he's talking about, but I haven't asked yet.
Yeah, so the next session, the action plan definitely should be given to the Master Plan Advisory Committee
Mhm.
as part of, and our consultant, but, the next session is October 22nd.
Second.
Yep.
So that's what this says.
It's on
up.
resiliency, but it's not just water and
Mhm.
it's economic and it's
Mhm.
age-friendly as
Yeah.
well, so,
Viability.
do you want, one of us should have a conversation with Brad
Mhm.
to work with the consultant to frame the, because that could
Okay.
easily incorporate it into
Okay.
the questions.
He did include me in an email with MCC, the consultants, so
Okay,
I
perfect.
could reach out if you think that's the way to go, and then just say, yeah, this is
Oh, yeah,
what we'd like
it's,
to do.
it's very relevant to the
Okay.
topic,
Okay.
and then there'll be one more in
November.
November.
One in November, one in December, there's 3 upcoming.
Oh, that's right.
Really? I have the dates, but this is October 22nd. That's so far away. All right, so, lastly, of course, there was a PBC meeting in September, which Steve Kirby, for those I didn't introduce, Steve Kirby is with us today from Vertex. He's our OPM, project manager for the senior center project, so you'd be surprised if you haven't seen him at one of the 25 meetings or more that we've had him come to. But, the conditions of the planning board decision were presented to the Public Building Commission, although they had also received a copy. And then Steve, at that time, had also described the bid process, which is what we'd asked him to come here just to talk to you about, so you sort of hear it firsthand from him, the steps for that. And then there was a little development this week that may have set us back, but apparently may not. So that's good news, but there was a lawsuit filed against the town of Scituate and the planning board, which was unfortunate. Just, basically stating that they didn't think that we had met the zoning requirements or the zoning standards in the zoning bylaws. Refuting that. That's that, but I'm gonna let Steve's been involved in conversations around that, so I'll let him talk about that. And lastly, I did meet with Jesse Finney, Gordon had asked, and the friends, Sandy and Pam. Just interested in what they can do to fundraise and hoping to have some naming, room naming campaign opportunities. So, wanted to see how they had done it. She gave me some of the documentation. I actually, and then talked to Steve as well. Just the idea that, we have different size rooms and maybe rooms that are more visible than other rooms, so depending on their use. So just to sort of scale them that way, the numbers right now, I don't mean to say it's arbitrary, but those still have to be determined. But at least there's sort of the larger to smaller number of rooms. So I have handouts for that, but that's something that Foss and the committee working on the campaign funding will look at and determine, and then we'll go to the Board of Selectmen for approval for that and hopefully follow the same standards that the library did for raising some money toward the project, which we might need, even though the budget's set. So, that.
Are you saying that that's a fundraising situation?
Mhm, yes. Yeah. So, I think.
Fundraising to get a name,
Right.
yeah.
I think the board needs to know, we don't do the fundraising, but
Yeah.
in terms of it reflecting on the senior center and how do we want the senior center, naming conventions to appear, how do we want to do it? There is a question as to how to state it, whether you call something the Walker Room, or whether you say this is program room 1, but thanks to the generous, donation of the Walker family, it's something like that, or whether you have it stated somewhere else. It is actually nice to have room names, because then you just know what to call them.
Mhm.
I mean, they do become that identity, and even though it's the arts and crafts room, it's kind of nice just to call it a name,
Well,
in my experience.
would we, willing to put multiple names on one room? Because we don't have as many rooms as the library had with
It would seem
bookshelves
we
and
don't have
all
as
that.
well.
We did bookshelves,
Yeah.
hallways.
Always, right.
Well, I mean,
That would be,
if we had a certain number, we had to meet, but I think just having the opportunity, just my opinion, gives us something.
Yeah.
Whether we have to then extend it beyond what the rooms or the areas would I don't know, here, I'll pass this out so you guys could.
Well, the library also had the,
They have bookcases
The-
named,
but
they have
the old-
everything
The
named.
wall.
before they did the renovation, they had the wall, which I'm still
Yeah,
trying
that
to, I
one.
have to find out where all those went.
Oh, I'll take that.
But,
They're going back up.
oh, good. All right. But they had that,
I know, might have said it.
yeah, the same one, okay.
The recognition wall.
The
Right,
papers in the
so
back,
that's
you know, at
another-
first I
And
had
that
them
will
on
be
here and then I
online,
did take
too,
them off, but
because
you're
the
right.
capital
The,
campaigns
I
are
don't
on.
know.
So if somebody down the road.
Bricks, I mean, I was thinking
At the
bricks.
But I'm thinking at the senior center, we could do the same
Not sure
thing.
what the-
Oh, yeah, yeah.
As opposed to
Yeah.
engrave, I mean.
I'm sure Gordon will
Yeah.
cover all of that.
Procedure,
It's-
different
Yeah.
costs.
The good news is,
I don't know all the details, but I've seen it.
all of that background
That
work
is
has been
something,
done.
that's right, Henry, that's what I would say on that.
Right,
And the
and
brick
it's
on the
just
patio.
transfer it to the,
So, I mean, since we're on that, if I'm not taking too much time, so you can see the multi-purpose rooms, you know, whether you do one or both of them, because they're dividable, it's dividable. Cafe area, I don't have a square footage on that, or the reception waiting area, just because those are more open spaces, but the visibility of those is good, so that puts them up high. Second floor, obviously, we have a bunch of rooms, whether we include the veteran suite in this, I don't know. And I don't know whether we would include like the staff areas actually, but then outdoors, you know, the patio is, I think, eligible and certainly needs to be furnished, but also, as Steve just, I did take it off the handout, but the idea of bricks or pavers being named. My kids' names are at the Hull Carousel, and I go look at them all the time. My mother did that. You know, it's nice, it's a nice legacy, so that would be, I think, something that people might enjoy, hopefully. So that's what I came up with, just in terms of what the seating might be. It's a little flexible, a lot of it. Like program room 1 upstairs. You know, the architect has pictured 28 lecture-style seats. Well, if we change the configuration, you know, it's possible you can get more seating if it's an audience style versus classroom versus conference. So the numbers change based on how you set up the room, or the need to use the room. But that's the larger of the 2 program rooms. Program room 2 is sort of medium to large, and then there's a small conference room that, you know, still could provide function space, I guess is what I mean. So that's the thought. So again, pass this on to the Friends and Gordon's committee and see where it goes from there. But I wanted you to know about it first, in case, you know, you had some thoughts. So, just moving on
That's great.
to.
Start referring to
Yeah.
work.
I would mention too, okay, so pending, and I guess Karen can talk about that. One of the sessions that I went to, and of course this has been going on, discussion of the need for senior centers to rebrand. You know, the idea, is the name sufficient? It's not something I think we can ignore, much as it's worked, and I love our logo. And probably we can still use the logo, or maybe we'll find people love it the way it is. But because of the opportunity that's presented with the new building, I don't think we can just ignore that and not discuss it. So I think in some way, and I think the board should maybe be involved or spearhead it, the idea that we should have a forum or a couple of forums and see what people think about the name. Now, there's a woman who's been doing it for some other senior center. She did it for Wellesley, she did it for Barnstable recently. I like her, I went to the workshop, and I think I get like a half-hour free conference call with her. So if anyone has questions or thoughts, I mean, you know, I've been through the procedure as, you know, that others have gone through, so we could certainly do it easily, but maybe it's nice to have someone kind of steering the ship as well, who's been through it before. So it's just a thought, one that I just thought I'd bring up because it's something to consider and something we should probably do sooner. When we think about signage on the senior center, which has been something that's come up, we don't want to be late on deciding. Okay, and then I was thinking of writing a cultural council grant to get this Beatles tribute band to come. And it's always a little bit hard. They are awesome and so multi-generational. I mean, at least that's what I found. And it was true. It was just fabulous. But it's hard sometimes to know, are we doing something if we were to do like the Irish Night, just a community event gathering, something that we wouldn't ordinarily be able to do without the entertainment being covered. You know, still food and maybe still sell tickets, but not a fundraiser versus using something like this as a fundraiser, which is a different direction. So even though I've made contact with them, I'm not quite sure what they cost, it depends on what we use them for and how we do it. Whether it's an outside community event, or whether we try to get the River Club and do it there, or somewhere else. So, I'd love the idea, I thought about it for the winter, like Valentine's Day, and then I realized, winter, it just raises your blood pressure when you try to do something of that magnitude, and you don't know if,
What the weather's gonna be.
what the weather's
Yeah.
going to be like. And we do have a lot of Florida snowbirds, so opinions or just mentioning it again, so if you wanna talk to me about it, I'm trying to pull together a format that's a little flexible so that I'm not tied to it if we were to get the money, but we can still provide it when it looks right, do it in the spring. If it's a fundraiser, then we can't use cultural council grant money, I don't believe, but then that would be different. But I think it would be fun. When I saw them, I just thought this is the kind of thing that really does bring people together, families. It was at the Hingham launch, which is, young and old, everybody, and they were all up on that dance floor. And these guys are in character, just by the way. So they are the young Beatles. And you think that sounds cheesy and corny? They were great. They talk like them, they sing like them, and they were amazing. So, anyway,
What was their name, Linda?
they're called Studio 2, TWO. Nice guys. And they're from the North Shore.
And what's the name of the grant again, the
Cultural Council grant. So we use them for the Irish. When we did the Irish night, that's who provided the money for those musicians. I did use them for that. And they did the community drumming circle for us. So I try not to miss that. Okay, so transportation, it's great. Everything's great about transportation on our end these days, although we are down a driver and interviewing for new part-time backup drivers, but it's funny, we say that to them and then, funny if we get them, they just end up rolling in because we really do have the need or could do more if we had the extra driver. So we do want another driver to be available at least and then see where that goes. So we are interviewing or taking applications.
So you only have, how many now? 2?
3.
3.
Mary, Jim, and Joe is the newer. We have lost Jay recently, Jay Fine. So that report, anyway, 69 clients were provided transportation, various forms. Medical transportation is still the high end, but I mentioned we are dipping our toes into the out-of-town medical as well. We are bringing people to activities sponsored by the senior center, so not as many, but to the other building, to this building, and that's nice. It's nice that they're realizing they can come to programs and they can get a ride to programs, which they haven't always wanted to take advantage of. Jenny's report, outreach, so she met with 45 different people, but I know her numbers are always a little bit confusing. 45 people for 84 different service interactions. So whether she talks to them about, certain benefit services or applications that she fills out, oftentimes with one single client, there's 4 different directions that she can go. She has been, I think, doing a lot of in-home visits, just she's been called upon to do that, and that is a nice service, and she's good at that, and I think it's helpful that she is meeting with people in their homes, and sometimes gets eyes on. She does do the housing authorities every month, and that is one of the ways we're going to try the listening sessions, try to gather them more when they know she's coming, and then join her with the postcards or a little bit of a survey or discussion about age-friendly. All right. And then in terms of programs, we couldn't be happier with the monthly art appreciation series that we had started in August, and that was through the Scituate Education Foundation grant. So it was great. It's great. It's monthly now for the year. Everybody loves it. We are filling the place really for that. It's an hour. The speaker is wonderful, and the topic next time is the Wyeth brothers, all the artists, which I love them. So if you think you might want to come. Also, our walking groups and trail walking, I think is a nice feature. I might put that in the constant contact email this week, especially after the fun walk. People are using the Nordic walking poles,
Good.
which is great for them.
That's good.
We also started a book club with a very dynamic woman, and she's calling it the No Rules Book Club. So if you didn't read the book, you still should come, which I do. Not with mine, but anyway, she's fabulous, and I think it's interest is increasing quickly on that. And we also have another new writing group started, along with the expressive writing that's been very popular, but a new one that's more about telling your story, with Robine Andro, who has spoken for us before, because she's got a great story herself. And she writes for the Mariner, regularly, so, she's very good. So that's sort of, again, slowly growing. So those are some of the new things that we've been doing. And the trips, and I will mention that through my senior center, nationally, trips are on the rise with all senior centers as one of the biggest draws for people to take advantage of. And we kind of know, that we do know that. They are labor intensive, so it's sort of a hard area unless you have some help, you have some volunteer help, which we do to a point, but they also are big sellers and people love them. So the more we can do, the better, I guess. That's it.
Then back up, the expressive writing group is partnering with Scituate High School in a class?
No, does it say that?
Yeah, on the top.
It's back and
Will
going
be-
full speed ahead. The group will be collaborating with Scituate High School seniors.
Okay. That's nice to know. You didn't read that.
I like that.
That's nice. Well,
How does
Liz-
that happen? How does that work?
Well, it could be Lisa spearheading that, or it could be Liz Ennis, who is the facilitator, and she's back. She takes a hiatus and then comes back seasonally. So maybe she came back with that idea, or talked to Lisa about it, so, yeah, that's a great idea. It was something that, you know, we brought up, even with the memory training, that it would be nice to extend that and start talking about, you know, memories and people's stories and different things that they wanted to somehow relay, whether it was through, you know, even media, or different media, so either through art or verbal storytelling or writing. So this is a good extension of that idea. So that's great. Glad you picked up on that. Anything else?
So Janice, under the men's breakfast, I remember a couple things.
Oh, good.
Well,
That's how we
first-
all work.
Well, first of all, he spent like 10 minutes talking about his background, like all the experiences. But after the senior center, he went into groundwater. And the complexity and
Mhm.
the challenges.
Mhm.
And so he talked about that, and there's a 5-year plan, I guess. And it means after 5 years, everything's cleaned up, and you start over from
Start
zero,
again,
do it again.
five-year plan.
Right. So, you know, he was talking about what's going on right now, ice picking and so on. And then last big item he talked about was what's going on in town, specifically the sewer for North Situate. You know, what's going on with Cohasset and Hall. So, and
That's
all the.
a 10-year.
Well, hopefully it's 5, I don't know. But he-
Well,
Follow-up,
it's a
follow-up.
no plan until we finish negotiating with our neighbors. And that process is, you know, we're at the, we're on board, the Cohasset Board of Selectmen has approved it, but they have a separate sewer commissioner on the
commission,
board
yeah.
that has not made a decision. And then Hall, at some point, has to make a decision because this all started because they have to repair their plant. And if we come on board with Cohasset, they'll repair it bigger and we'll help finance it because we know we'll be sending stuff. But if we don't make the decision in a timely fashion, they will still have to go forward. So there's a lot of process.
But it sounds like the
so.
sewer commission at Cohasset is not in favor going along Route 3A, but we can go down.
The board,
we
the
can go down
board,
the countryway.
yeah, the board voted for the smaller
Right.
project,
Mhm.
which would still allow sewage to be brought into the North Situate Village and part of, along the backside of Cohasset Harbor and the
Right.
Minot, that area, which
Right.
they need, Cohasset needs
They need to fix
to
that.
clean up.
Yeah.
So it is a smaller version, but it's also easier to get done. So once the approvals are in place, it will, and then, I don't know what the timetable will be, Steve probably has a better idea. But, you know, we would have to do the engineering to bring everything to Cohasset.
Right.
And then Cohasset would have to do the engineering to bring, to wheel up to Hull. So, lots of moving parts, but
Mm.
first we had to get everybody in the same boat.
Any other?
The other one was the
Men's
dog park.
breakfast?
I guess
No.
everybody was very pleased with the dog park. Yeah. And
We had no
Seems like-
dogs at the family fun walk though, and I put the sign there.
we had it last year.
I thought, hey, sounds like a good place to bring, well, maybe it's, somebody said that's because dogs were a pain in the neck and they wanted them to bring them to the dog park and not have to walk them out in the street and pick up. I guess that makes sense. I do have one other, that just happened today, but it's just funny, answered my prayers just a year and a half early. So someone called with a baby grand piano donation. And I really, that's what I said, I wanted for the new seniors. I just don't know I don't know if I can take it or, I mean, I
Oh, we'll
don't
find,
know.
we could find a place.
Do you think we
Yeah,
could?
right, yeah.
'Cause
Oh, no, we could, I'm certain that there's.
the other building maybe, there, somewhere?
There's room in that anyway.
I would hate to turn it down and,
Community building at Wheeler Park or something like that, put it there.
well, maybe. So,
We could
that's
talk
what
to
I said, I
Jesse-
said, let
Talk to
me,
Jesse about putting it
let
in
me
the
talk
common.
to some
That-
people.
Talk to Jim Bedrow, if you, that's not a generous donation.
Yeah.
Just
that
today, I
will
thought I
find
would
a
mention it,
place.
because I said, wow, there's two things, I wanted
After
a
the-
baby grand piano and a pool table, so, you know.
Well, that's great.
That was good. Because they know, I mean, it isn't new, you know, it actually seems to have, it has some history, it's maybe early 19, no, early 1900s, he thought, but,
No, make sure that it's functional
Right.
first before
We'll see.
accepting,
Well,
because it's expensive to rehab.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so, we may, I do have the sizes, if that might help in terms of where to store it or have it in the meantime, but anyway, it was a very nice offer. So, all right, so,
Good. Does anybody have any questions for Linda? Okay, so why don't we move to Steve Kirby? Appreciate you coming again. He's our owner's project manager on the senior center
right hand and left hand.
rec department project.
Good evening. I'll give you an update in somewhat of a chronological order. Starting in June, July, August timeframe, there was the main push of the design team was preparing for the first planning board meeting, which was August 8th, I believe, which we did attend. The planning board determined that they wanted to continue it to the follow-up meeting, which was the 12th of September. Again, we were in touch with some of the various department heads to make sure that they had their comments in, so that we could essentially check the boxes off that needed to be for the planning board site plan review. We attended the September 12th meeting. Long story short, it was voted 3-2. There were some additional requirements that the planning board added, including taking the section of the stone wall that we're removing for the new entry, and we were going to use around the generator enclosure, but they want to use it at the existing entry to the gate school, where we come in off of First Parish, to close that off with the exception of the sidewalk pass-through. So we're not sure how much of the wall stone that we'll be able to salvage. We'll probably get that done. We may have to bring in new stone for the generator enclosure, but that's the direction we're going there. They also wanted to install site lighting in the future parking lot in advance.
Which is sort of the overflow parking lot.
Yeah, which is by getting closer to the
Ball field.
softball field along the abutters line. So, you know, we will have to put those in. We figured we'll put those on a separate circuit, so if, I mean, we're not having parking there, we don't want the lights to be on, so. And then there was some other things that were included. There was also concern about the distance of where the generator was located from the front property line, the front setback, whether that was going to require a zoning board a variance. We did check with Bob Vogel, the building commissioner, and confirmed that the generator is not part of the building. The setback is actually to the building wall, which was far enough within the setback requirements as designed by Bardman. So we do not have to appear before the zoning board. They issued their decision on the 18th of September. They did have an amended approval for the scenic road because there was an error in the motion, and they issued that on the 20th. So at that point, we had the marching orders, so to speak, of what they needed. The architect has been in the process of finishing up the drawings and the specifications. We also, in that summer time period, because the project is estimated at greater than $10 million for construction, mass procurement law requires that the general contractors and the filed sub-trades are pre-qualified. So there's a specific process for that. Essentially having advertising the project to get interest, and essentially they would send in a proposal showing, what their qualifications are, their financial standing, a body of information which gets evaluated. There was a subcommittee of four, two from the PVC, one from the architect and one from our office, to review all of this documentation. And the filed sub-trades are the main trades that are on the project, inclusive of plumbing, heating, electrical, the elevator, fire protection, masonry. They're part of the Chapter 149 file sub-bid law, which is all part of mass construction law and practices. Essentially, we went through all of them. We qualified everybody that applied, and which we notified them. So we have gone on to getting ready to send the documents out to bid. We posted to the Central Register, which is a publication that advertises public works projects. We posted today. It will appear next Wednesday, and as of next Wednesday, the 16th, the documents will be available for the bidders to pick up and start to review. We are using an online hosting firm. It's biddocsonline.com. We've used them before. They've been around for a while. As a matter of fact, it's an offshoot of an architect's company out of Groton, who Vertex has worked with before. We are also going with electronic bidding, where before the bid openings were a function that was held usually at the town hall or maybe the school department, depending on the project, and people would attend and you'd physically open up the bids. Now it's been approved. It took a little bit, but it's been approved by the state that it's electronic bidding. If you have a bid opening for 2 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon, by 2:05, everybody that's a party to the bids has a bid tabulation sheet from the company. And there's a few different companies that do that, but we opted to go with Bid Docs Online. So we've been in contact with them. There's some specific documentation that needs to be included in our project manual and specification package that gives the instructions to the bidders on how to do it. At this point, most of the bidders have done it before, because in the public works sector, there are a finite group of contractors that bid on every job, because there's paperwork that's involved that other contractors do private work is not interested in. So we see the same people all the time, which is fine. I mean, you know what you're going to get.
Is that regardless of locale, or it is sort of regional that they would prefer to work?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're getting out into Springfield area, you're getting a different batch of contractors. They do have their circles of how far they want to travel to a project. North Shore may be different from the Cape. But we're getting, in this location, we're getting a lot of the, Worcester to Boston, I'd say Lowell to, the canal, that group of contractors. So we will be having a bidders walkthrough on the site on the 24th. The filed sub-bids which
Is that
come in.
open to anybody wants to come to walk the site on the select board with you?
It is, I mean,
Who leads it?
it'll be myself and the architect.
Okay.
We will be starting at the recreation center, because essentially, the bidders are here to see what's existing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not intensive research, I mean, it's a couple hours, but they're gonna wanna see the inside of the recreation building, the crawl space, the upstairs, the roof, because that, we're actually doing work within that building.
Yeah.
They're gonna wanna see the sea wing, because that's the section of the gate school that we're demolishing. And they'll look at the site, because, you know, right now, we don't have a senior center for them to look at, it's not a renovation, it's a new building. So, you know, you don't get everybody that comes out, it's not mandatory, it's optional walkthrough. Bidders that are interested generally come, but that doesn't mean that they're the only ones. You know, these guys are busy, they're, you know, a lot of their estimators estimate right off the planes. And they don't make the trip. But we have it, we always offer it on every project. File subbids are due on November 6th. They're always bid before the general contractor because we tabulate those file subbidders. And we issue that as an addenda to the general contractors so that they can essentially take, generally speaking, it's the lowest bidder in each trade category, and they plug that into their bid. Because again, there's certain categories of the file subbids that the general contractors don't deal with until the contract is awarded. They take their number, they plug it into their bid, but they have a lot of other things that they have to do their own estimating on, such as structural steel, site work. Those are non-file subbid trades.
Is the demo work usually in the contract, or is that another sub-bid?
Demolition is under the GC's umbrella. Yeah.
That's like that.
Same thing with abatement.
Abatement, yeah.
Yeah. Now, on this project, essentially, we have masonry, miscellaneous metals, glazing, metal windows, tile, resilient flooring, acoustical ceiling tile, painting, elevator, fire protection, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical are the file subbid. So other things like millwork, like I said, site work, also roofing and waterproofing, those are also file subbid. So it is a split, and on the bid sheet, they sort of split that for informational purposes, is what your non-file subbid or general contractor costs and your file subbid costs, just so you can add them up to make sure that your bids are correct. Then we have a couple weeks, and then we'll have the general contractor's bids due on the 20th of November. At that point, we'll review those bids, but because we pre-qualified, we've already looked into our bidders on a non-pre-qualified project, which is anything that's less than 10 million. There's a period, you get a low bidder. There's a period of a week where you may want to take a look at their, you have the opportunity to look at their DCAM evaluation file out of Boston. Sometimes you know them and it's not a big deal, sometimes you're not as familiar with them. So you take the time to review their latest report card, so to speak.
Who does that? The general contractor does that? Or
We do that, yeah, we do that. And hopefully, beginning of December, we'll have an award of the contract, and at that point, we would be going essentially from December 1st, 15th, somewhere in that time frame, for a year. This is a 365-day project duration.
So say that one sentence again. So then after beginning of December, you're gonna award the contract. And
From then on, their clock is ticking, so that we're giving them 365 days to complete the work.
so conceivably it will start in December?
The day after you.
The day you issue the contract or the notice to proceed is when they're starting.
Just a clarification, after the bids are open and it's for the pre-qualified, so it shouldn't take that long, does it go to PBC first before it comes to the board to approve? I think so.
I would say
Because
most
we
likely.
would want their
Yes,
recommendation.
yeah. They would be recommending that you sign the contract.
Right, okay, so there's that, so we'll have to just, that's
So-
just process.
Right.
And then the
And
contract
we
will
could
come before
convene
the
them as
board.
quick as possible. I would think.
But if, from November 20th, and then if there was a meeting of the PPC, and then we'd have to go to the.
It might work, the timing may work,
So much
because they're always at the end of the month.
1st of December.
In the specifications, do you suggest
So anyway.
a time, like a workflow at all, or is that up to the contractor? Like, I assume in December they could be working on the rec building. Or doing just the demo, I don't know what.
There, we're suggesting some phasing, because, and it's another topic I was gonna touch on, but it's sort of the logistics. We want we don't want to dictate certain things if we don't have to. Sometimes with schools, you really have to give a phasing plan, because if the school's occupied, you're making sure that kids aren't in the same area. I mean, the recreation building is going to be occupied. And in one of my we did meet with Mara and Nick on the 25th to discuss logistics, schedule, and, how we're going to, petition off their front of their building so that they can still access the gym,
Yeah,
but you
so
have
access
construction
still.
on the other side of a solid partition wall, because that existing front entry is no longer going to be there. So phasing-wise, their entry is going to be the entry across from the tennis courts.
Yeah.
But we're also doing work there to make that ADA accessible, because it's a 4 or 5 step
Yeah. I get that.
entry right now that has to have a ramp. So, again, part of the phasing is we'll tell the contractor he needs to provide this entrance first before he starts tearing apart the other entrance. And also part of the conversation with Mara was her concern about parking during construction. So we had a plan that essentially set up a fence all the way out to Cudworth, because we are gonna be building a parking lot next to the building. What we thought is, we don't need to take that land at the beginning of the project, because that site work that's probably gonna happen towards the end of the summer. So we're telling the contractor to take his construction fence and bring it in short of Cudworth. So she said, I'll park on the grass, because you're gonna tear it up anyways.
Yeah.
So they can use that parking up to the point where the contractor says, I need to take this now. And then they'll sort of be regulated to the backside of the building. So that's sort of a phasing logistic thing that we're going to dictate. But as far as the flow of the project, obviously we anticipate, or we expect that they're gonna be working on both buildings simultaneously. Really have to, because of the duration of the project. But if the contractor says, I'm gonna do this first and I'm gonna do this later, we can certainly express our concerns, but if his schedule and, he's showing that this is what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it. I've had other projects where I somewhat doubted the contractor's ability to get something done, and all they did was they flooded it with manpower, and they did exactly what they said. So,
That's up to them.
it is, but, I mean, we certainly have input, because we require every month for them to give us a schedule update with their application for payment. So it's a constant review, and we have weekly project meetings, and at those meetings, we want a 2-week look ahead of what they're going to do next. And, I'm not saying that there's not gonna be some problems and some things that have to be ironed out, and there always is. No project is smooth. But that's why we have the weekly meetings attended by the contractor, the architect, us as the OPM, members of the town, and we'll figure that out once we get to it. Vertex will have a clerk there full-time every day the contractor's working. So, and again, you know, the building of the senior center is sort of a standalone by itself. You sort of let them go and do their work. You're really watching construction, but on the recreation side, you have people in the building that we need to make sure that, you know, we're maintaining proper separation, but also egress access to the building. We are requiring Corey for the workers because they are gonna be in there. There's gonna be kids there, so we talked to Maura about that. She has her own form. I know there's a few forms that are scattered through the town, but we asked her for her form, so that will be a part of the project.
Okay. If we can do it internally, I think that saves some cost, because we do it as a regular rule, as do they, so, I
Right.
mean, we can do that.
Right, we are doing it internally, because you're right, if you have to go to an agency and you're having them do it, they're just gonna bill us as part of the project, so. But that's sort of where we're at with the bidding schedule. And I mentioned that we did meet with the rec director. The most latest item that occurred, which we mentioned before, we did have an appeal filed by the abutters to the project by a lawsuit. I'll sort of talk high level on it. I know Jim Boudreau's met with them, town administrator met with them before they filed, just to discuss some of their concerns. But they had a 20-day time frame in which to submit an appeal from the date of the decision.
Oh.
So we,
From the 12th or the 18th?
18th.
from the decision date of the 18th.
Okay.
So they were well within that, but that's really what was driving that, and I guess I understand it. You gotta put your paperwork in, and you know, otherwise you're time barred from filing a suit. So we've had some internal discussions. The outcome was that we should proceed and not delay the bid, because we are, you know, we want to get this out on the street. We want to get this going. Town administrator was going to be talking with town council to go over the next steps.
And what was the basis of the suit?
Well, it was a couple things, without going into a lot of the details, but it was essentially that the decision by the planning board exceeded their authority as it applied to the zoning bylaws. And I think it was really predicated on a couple things of traffic safety and parking.
And the entrance. The
Right.
entrance
That was
being moved.
that was the traffic safety part of it. And how it affected their driveway.
So I think that the project didn't meet the standards as they saw they should be met.
So that's an ongoing issue. But right now, it's not delaying the bid process.
Steve, is there anything, is it possible that the court, I don't know if injunction is the right word or not, is there any possibility of the court mandating that the project not go ahead or be stopped if it were to be started, and then put a stop on it? Is that a possibility?
I really couldn't
Yeah.
answer that.
I think that's why Jim's talking to town council. I think
Yeah.
that's
I
what
wouldn't want to
we
even
do.
speculate.
Yeah, okay.
So, unfortunate, but it was,
Right.
it's nice we can, I mean, I guess at this stage, sidestep it and not lose time if it,
Yeah, I mean, it's being dealt with concurrently with continuing with the bid process.
See, one other question. Did you get what you thought was a reasonable interest in the pre-certifications?
Oh, yes.
You know, considering a lot of people are busy and there's a lot of construction going on.
Yeah, we had to re-advertise for two of the trades, but we needed to have, ideally, we needed to have three qualified bidders in each trade category. There is an exception if you had less than that, and we had 2 in one category, it was up to the awarding authority to make a decision as to whether you keep those as pre-qualified or you reject them and go out to bid and either do it as a normal file sub-bid or you have a GC carrier. Our thoughts were, we got the interest from these 2 subcontractors as part of the pre-qualification. If we reject their bids, they may say, not interested in doing this anymore. And we get no bids, which is a lot worse. I'm not saying that we, even now that we pre-qualified, that those particular trades are all going to bid on it. But again, the process of it is because it's greater than 10 million, we had to go through that. Now, to answer your initial question as far as interest goes, as far as general contractors, we had 9 that sent in a proposal, which, like I said, we qualified all of them. So that's a pretty good number, saying, hopefully we get 6 that actually bid. I'd like 9, but if we get 6 of those, because, again, time goes on, contractors win jobs, and then they know that they're full, and they don't want to take on anything else, or they'll start failing on 2 jobs. So,
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Steve?
Very helpful.
Thank you for the update.
Good to have it first
Yeah.
hand explained.
I know there's a lot to it, I try to
Summarize.
make it as clear as possible.
Whole new set of terminology.
Yes, that's a
I didn't
different,
write it all down.
I thought you were gonna give us a flow chart.
a different line.
Oh, right, as secretary, yeah. We'll go over those minutes carefully.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, just send me an email.
Thank you.
Leanne does it, she sends me the draft minutes.
Oh,
I-
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's fine.
You fill in.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's terminology.
Yeah.
I'll say something and it sounds like something else.
Yeah.
So, we've been doing that. It helps.
Can you repeat when's the walkthrough? October
October 24th
24th? What time?
at 9 o'clock. And I've been directing them to meet at the recreation center entrance. We usually start with a little overview of the rules of the project, which mostly they know, but I like to go through it again anyway. And then we make a circuitous route through the building and we don't, there's questions that come up, but we try to limit the questions because we want them to send the questions in writing, because we have to make sure that questions that are answered get to all the bidders. And if you don't have bidders there, then you don't want to have an undue advantage to someone. Or sometimes more knowledge is worse, and it's a disadvantage because they know too much. But all those questions come in, we want them in writing, then they come out as an addenda, they get issued to all the bidders that have expressed interest or taken the documents out. And those addendas go back to the bid hosting, the bid docs online, and they post it. So, and even during that process, we're still fine tuning some of the drawings and stuff, so there'll be other bits of information that come out before the bids come in.
And in terms of legal matters, wholly with Jim and town council?
At this point, yes. I mean, we'll do whatever we have to do if there's anything to assist. Our initial discussions were, are we gonna delay the bid process, or
Right.
are we gonna go forward? Because that came in on Tuesday.
Right.
So I had to post today before 4 o'clock for it to be in the central register for next Wednesday. So I had a deadline.
Okay, great.
And if something changes, I mean,
Yeah.
things can change, but I didn't want to, let's get it going. So, and that was the consensus of the conference call.
Very good. We're glad to get it going.
Yep. Just trying to make sure we get closer.
Does anybody have any questions for Steve?
One just, and this is really probably for you guys, is if, you know, all goes well and this timeline occurs, are we gonna plan a ceremonial groundbreaking? Because I think there's a lot of people interested in that, even though it'll probably be a winter groundbreaking. I don't know if you guys have given any thought to that, but you might want to think about that. I mean, that's generally, this body would organize, but it would have to be in
Love to.
concert with
A
with
lot of
whoever the
times,
GC is.
we'll talk with the GC.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ah.
we're doing the library project up in Medford. They're not even on the project's been awarded, not even on the site yet, but the contractor said, I'll bring a piece of equipment in, I'll bring a load of dirt, dump the dirt, have the equipment, because he gets his equipment
That's
in
what
the
we did.
background.
There's a hard hat and a shovel and
Yep.
a start.
Right,
Yeah, the
and,
public safety wasn't even on the site, it was next to the site.
right, and you get the, you get the
Okay.
new shovels, and if you wanna spray them gold or something.
It's a good community event, too.
No, yeah. And
And
I've done, I've
and it
had it in
thanks
the
a lot of
wintertime
people
too.
that worked really hard on it, too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can advise if you've done it for winter or something.
It's, just wear a coat,
But we should leave snow.
you can do that. Yeah, I think that's
We
a
should
good
have,
idea, a project this size, of course.
We have some weather people in Scituate, maybe we can invite them and have them like, do a rain dance over the. Mike Wankum.
Huh?
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very helpful. The next PBC meeting is not next week, it's the week after. It's the 22nd.
Yep.
Okay.
Karen, you're next on the agenda.
Well,
Anything going on?
Steve covered up just a little thing, we're having town meeting on November 12th, I think it is. It's the, right after Veterans Day. It's the Tuesday after, sorry, I can look it up on my phone. And the warrant has been closed for that, so you could see that online, and so between now and then, that will be the line of our focus, as well as the budget process, as Linda mentioned, is kicking off for 2020. I really am just happy to answer any questions you guys, burning issues, but Steve covered all of the major stuff about the senior center, so, thank you.
Good night.
The board nominations or,
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, actually, I will check my phone on that, because we just got the agenda as I was walking in.
oh, I saw that.
Yeah, last, we did not vote on board appointments last meeting because it was midnight and
And the-
we couldn't think
and the
anymore.
vote.
And so I almost asked to do the senior because I felt like we needed to do that. But we had, as you know, we have the 2 spots open on the board here, and a long list of very talented people. So the board interviewed all the candidates. I've gotten input from a couple of the members at this table. If anyone here would like to shoot me a note about, recommending somebody from that has applied, that would be, useful as well. But I think we're not gonna make a bad choice, that's for sure, because there's so many good people. And that vote, and I'm pretty sure it'll be on Tuesday. Did you look at the agenda?
It's on the agenda, it's toward the bottom, but it's not at the end. So, there were about 5 committees that are getting appointments. So that's how it was listed on the agenda.
Oh, good.
So next Tuesday, maybe?
Next Tuesday's meeting.
Yeah, it should, they're usually,
It's
now
hard
at this
enough.
point, it'll be a pretty quick process because everyone's had time to really think about the interviews and everything, so. Sorry for the delay.
Yeah,
No,
can I just
understandable.
ask you about that? So it seems that in the past, there was a much more stringent process where applications had to be in,
Mhm.
and you were interviewed, this date you come, told to come,
Right.
interviewed, and that was, done within.
Yes, that is definitely the preference to do it. And it was pretty close to that. We would have voted last week. I mean, there was a deadline
No,
for
no, but we
applications.
were,
It
it
used to
was
be
like
like June and
July.
July.
It was July.
Oh, back in
July.
July.
We, you know, we had to be, I think, have it submitted the end of June.
Definitely in June.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
May, yeah.
May,
And then
June.
I was
It was at the
notified.
beginning of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
So I'm
I'll look
wondering
into
if
that,
something
yeah.
has changed.
I'll ask Lorraine. She is
Yeah.
the master of all boards
Yeah.
and committee application processes. She's wonderful. Yeah, actually, you're right.
Yeah,
It used to be,
Used to
we
be.
could vote in July.
yeah, or get
Yeah.
started.
And then you'd have the new people
Here.
coming to the.
Yeah.
I'll ask that
July.
question. I honestly hadn't even thought about that.
Hmm.
My guess, and this is just a guess,
Okay.
is that we had a couple of very time-demanding issues in front of us, not the least of which was the senior center.
Mhm.
And that may have,
Yeah.
then we might have just.
Voluminous.
But I'll ask that question, I don't know.
So I have town meeting as November 5th, just wanted to,
Yeah, I
which is
thought it
the
was
first
November fifth.
Tuesday. I'm just hoping.
I know I moved a flight to be there, so.
Oh, so funny, 'cause I know,
Hopefully
I
I'm
wouldn't
arriving
have
on the right day.
Just
Yes,
saying.
you are right, sorry.
So the first Tuesday as opposed to the Tuesday after Veterans Day.
Oh, you know what it is, the 12th is the second, master plan committee meeting.
Oh,
Okay.
So yes, it's on the 5th, I will be returning and streaming from the airport to the meeting.
oh, wow, because I'm away the next
So
week.
let's hope there's no bad weather, because I don't want to miss
I know.
it. And that'll be fun, so please come.
Well,
And our bylaws are on that,
the general bylaw.
right?
They're on there as well.
I'm sure I was very contentious.
Never- hey,
You never know.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
getting cures from a
You never know,
I do
right.
want to note that today, speaking of boards and committees, the applications are being set as of today for anyone interested in serving on the Charter Review Commission, committee. It's not a commission, Charter Review Committee. And
Which
they're
is the
due, I
town
believe, on
charter?
Halloween. The
Yeah.
entire town
yeah,
charter.
that's pretty cool. When was the
Um,
last time that was reviewed?
Ninety-five?
many years?
Okay.
About 15
A long,
years ago or
long,
something.
too long ago.
Yeah,
14 years ago.
Yeah, so,
it should probably be every 10 years.
yeah, so that the board had, you could either do a commission, which is an elected board by state statute, an elected board. But that process is very lengthy to get it up and going, obviously. So you have to go through elections. Or you can set up a committee, and so the board decided that we were all anxious to begin the conversation, and there's plenty of stuff that can be done that doesn't require the authority of a commission. And rather get it started right away. The committee might very well say, you know, we need to go through a more lengthy process, because they might decide that, they may recommend that we want to change our form of government, I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm just,
But that's okay, I mean, it could
that's
go on
fine,
as long
that's
as they need
fine,
it to
we have
go
to
on.
start the conversation.
Yeah.
So, encourage anybody that, it's a one-year commitment to really dive into it, there's a lot of housekeeping stuff that has to be done as of any document, as you just did yourselves. And then there's the big think stuff about, are we structured the right way? So, it's exciting, and I really hope that people, raise their hands and apply for that, so. That's the avenue thing.
Okay. Very good, thank you. South Shoulder Services, Joan.
All right, we met on October 1st, and they always start with a big financial report in detail. And there was a big discussion on the South Shore B&A has terminated the services with South Shore Elderly Services.
Say that again?
What?
Social DNA.
South Shore B&A,
So South Shore Hospital
yeah, they
has
terminated.
terminated
Isn't it
services.
B&A? How do you
Has
say
terminated
B&A?
services
Well, it's
with
like all
South Shore
kind of
Elder
under
Services?
one.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
So
they
what does that
hospital
mean?
mainly. And then, so there's a lot of changes.
okay.
Sandra will be meeting with the Secretary of the State. They continue to have workers doing fellowship with their workers. They try to get them to do things together to get to know each other better. And they're going to include a holiday party for them. They continue working with the veterans, and they're trying to make it easier for them to do paperwork. And they do a lot of ads as I brought in before, in magazines, and this is one of the big ads that they have for veterans, for one of the veterans' papers. You know, see that. The state is working on increased salaries for home health aides, and that was in the paper, because they really have a hard time getting home health aides, and they're not really getting paid.
Very well, correct.
And the thing is, they're always looking to get a better job,
So they
so
keep-
the
they-
turnover
Yep.
is, and most nursing homes do not have enough help. I mean, I'm over at Life Care all the time, and people tell me, yeah, well, they're at 4:30, they're in bed already. I said, how come you're in bed? She said, well, they're gonna be short of help tonight,
So
so.
they put me in bed
Yeah.
early. Right.
And then they had the cluster meetings, was very good. They gave out these, which was always different agencies, and they gave out these bags, which are insulated, for a lot of the home health workers. So that was.
So you got a bag, okay, good. Yeah.
And we continue to need more people for Meals on Wheels, especially in the winter, because already some people are going to Florida. And the other question is, now Meals on Wheels is gonna be in the new building?
Yeah.
That's, okay. And, one of our board members is a lawyer who, works mainly with seniors. And he was very, thought that we should really know more about this, and so I made copies for everybody. It's to protect pool trusts for disabled seniors. This bill would enable disabled seniors to continue to use special needs pool trusts without penalty to pay for important services and care not covered by Mass Health. So I have made copies just in case you haven't seen anything about this, but this is a big issue.
What is it called again?
The pool trust for special needs.
Trust for
care.
disabled
Yeah, the
seniors.
money that's pulled together.
Yeah.
And it explains it more in detail here.
Protect Pool Trust. Thanks. So as far as Meals on Wheels, I mean, ideally, it would all be under the senior center. It's only not in the senior center because we can't support it right now or house it. So ideally,
Well, it's like at the Methodist Church.
right,
South Shore pays for it.
I know they do.
And,
I mean,
and
it's a
like they have a refrigerator, South Shore paid for that refrigerator. You know, anything they use for Meals on Wheels, they pay for.
Right. I mean, I hope that's a positive. I mean, it's a disconnect for us. We don't have anything to do with Meals on Wheels, and it would be much nicer if we were able to provide the volunteers through the senior center, volunteer,
Yeah, but would it be in the building itself,
it would be in the building itself,
like it is?
in the kitchen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Should be able to.
And then October community dinner in St. Luke's is gonna be put on by the Rotary, and we're gonna put a nice turkey dinner on and have ice cream and chocolate sauce. And we always get a big crowd.
I love October, yep.
Oh, when they know the Rotary does it, they come out.
You gotta be
And what's-
kidding.
what's
Yeah.
the-
That's nice to hear. Very good. Thank you. October, yeah, it's Sunday, October
October 27th,
27th.
got to 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
Seating starts at 4:30.
Oh, some are even there at 4.
I know.
Lined up around the block.
Very good.
Must be open bar at 4.
I'm gonna look at Gordon, our community campus and/or FOSS and/or both? Are you reporting out?
No, not for us,
Pass.
even though I am a FOSS member. Anyway, I'll tell you about build a campus capital planning committee.
Yeah.
Where Lane Shambari, who's usually here, who's the FOSS liaison, is kind of heading up she calls it begging at the landfill this weekend, that term, begging at the landfill. We're gonna be standing out there where everyone else stands and set up Sunday and hopefully Saturday if the weather permits, and Sunday, it's more for awareness and being able to talk to people. It's amazing how many people will stop. They may not give you $1 or $2, but they may stop to say, what's going on with the senior center?
Yeah.
So just for informational purposes, a lot, we may grade maybe $1,000 or $1,500, and that's fine, so we'll be there this weekend. We did our mail solicitation has started. We did a mailing, 2,300 pieces to every resident in Scituate, well, I should say,
Over 70.
not necessarily, because it was husband and wife, they got one, to every home, every residence, 70 and a half and over. Because we wanted to bring the awareness to people that they could do the mandatory distribution and take that money out and not have to pay taxes on it, as long as it's being donated to a charitable contribution.
Yeah.
So that's beginning to show, went out, I think it was received by most people last Wednesday or Thursday. It was beginning to show a little bit of return on that. We're gonna do a mailing to the rest of the residents, 6,000 homes. Everybody else, probably end of this month or November. That will be just a regular kind of appeal, you know, for a donation. We started to kick around the idea again, like what the library did, about allowing people to pledge monthly, yearly, over 3 years, 4 years. So we're kind of kicking around the idea possibly for those people that probably would like to donate 1,000, but can only do $250 a year,
Yeah.
or something like that. So we may involve a pledge campaign along with that. The groundbreaking, you know, I think will be important. I think, again, that'll bring awareness. And I think there is a certain segment of people who are kind of holding on to their wallet until they see something happen up there. I know that that's the case, because I've had a number of people who are willing to make a significant contribution, but they want to know it's
Yeah.
really going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think once shovels are in the ground, I think we'll see
Either that or
the
the wrecking
returns.
ball is.
What's that?
Yeah.
Either that or when the wrecking ball is starting to
Yeah.
get building
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, you know, the town will allow us to, you know, Lyndon Foss and, you know, our capital planning committee to put up a nice sign that says future home of, you know, as soon as that's realistic to do that. I saw that somewhere, I was driving through some community, I forget what it was that was being built, but they had a future home of, maybe it was a school or something, that again, you know, bring some awareness. The naming opportunities are really gonna be an integral part of the kind of the big capital fundraising effort. You know, but Henry, you know, we went through that layout, we came up with almost like 24 potential naming opportunities, so there are actually more than there were at the library. Because there's
more than
a lot
library.
a lot of opportunities there without getting involved in, you know, book stacks and stuff like that. So, and I know, again, I know a few people who are willing to do that, but again, they just want to know that it's going to happen. So I think we'll start to see some return on that by the end of the year. And then we plan on having the capital campaign run for a year. I don't see it going beyond that. After that, it's kind of back to the normal FOSS fundraising to help Linda with her programming and stuff like that. And they're going to continue that. They still, the regular FOSS activities are going to continue through next year. Don't go out and buy your 2020 calendar yet, because we're going to have a really good calendar for you to purchase. We're in the process of doing the photographing as we speak. We've done, I think, 4 of the, we're probably going to have, I think, 15 subjects. So we'll have 12, then we'll have, on the back page, we'll have probably 3 or 4 more. So it's going to be interesting. It'll result in some, I think, buzz around town, good buzz. And we're talking with Ruth Thompson about, so we can get some publicity for it when the time is right. It's not right just yet until we have all the pieces, you know, put together. But it's really a neat project. I've been involved with Jerry Klimek. We were gonna, Kel Mahoney kind of offered to help us out a lot, but his schedule is such, he's out straight with weddings and stuff this time of year and getting prepared for his Christmas rush. So you know, I thanked Kel and said, you know, thank you for offering. And Jerry is more than a capable photographer, and I've been on 3 of the shoots. We're doing another one tomorrow morning at 7:45, and he's more than capable of doing it. We did one on Peggotty Beach Friday when it was about 48 degrees, and so it's been fun and very interesting. Lastly, you know, we're talking, and you know, Linda's aware of this, and we'll talk some more with Linda about it, and you people also, about a spring gala kind of event, and that would be a major fundraiser. It's not just going to be a social event. It'd be much like the library gala, and you know, with probably auctions and auction items and stuff like that. And I actually went today to both the Barker and the River Club. River Club only has 1 day left in May.
Wow.
1 day, and that's May 3rd, which is a Sunday. You know, we were thinking maybe in terms of a Friday night or a Saturday. She has nothing through the spring, and she has May 3rd available. So we'll talk to Linda some more. I told Angela, I said we'll probably give you a definite yes or no by next week. You know, that date is going to be taken if we just sit on it. Barker had a lot of dates available through April and May, but the Barker's capacity, if you have dancing, is 150 people. And you can have dancing at the River Club and have 300 people.
Really?
So that offers the opportunity to be a much bigger fundraiser. And I think we could fill the hall. Also, the River Club, Angela, the woman is wonderful, like Linda's worked with her. She said, well, can you give me a figure of a number? Not sit down dinner, pass hors d'oeuvres, maybe some desserts, cookies, brownies and stuff. And so, well, I'll do it for you for $30. Now, that compares to Barker's $48 for the same thing. So I don't think we'd be going to the Barker. Plus the Barker, let's say, is half the number of people, so.
Yeah, Barker had too many rooms.
Huh?
Barker had too many rooms. At the River Club, you got everybody.
Well, they
in
got a
one day.
little ante room off to the side there and
Yeah.
stuff, and there's the Barkers, that one nice
Yeah,
people.
big
So we'll kind of flush that out a little bit more in the coming week. And, as an aside, Linda, the people at the Barker said, if you know any senior people who are looking for some part-time employment, to put them in touch with her. She said she loves having, senior, retired people there, because they're dependable, they show up, and they do a good job, so.
Dependable.
Stuff.
I mean, I have a 19-year-old.
And
Not senior, yeah.
I was reading South Shore Living about a week ago, and I was looking at the events pages, and I can't remember who the group was or even where they were, but they were having a senior prom. So we're thinking of working around the theme of a junior senior prom, to try to attract not only the 65, 70, 75-year-olds, but some of the younger people as well. So we'll talk with Linda some more about that. And I think it would be a neat thing to do. So that's kind of where we're at. And we have sponsors, the calendar. We already have gotten, I think, 6 sponsors for the 12 months. And then we'll have people who just want to make a donation listed in the calendar also. The sponsors are $100. They can get their logo and their name and their phone number and their business stuff on one of the monthly pages. So that's actually going pretty well. That's kind of what we're doing. We meet every Tuesday over at the church. Methodist Church. It's 9:30, so anyone that wants to know more, wants to hear about what's going on, or wants to lend a helping hand, we're there every Tuesday. And we've got a great group. It's the same people that were involved in the ballot initiative, basically, and a few others. So a good, hard-working group of people, which we need. So.
Very
That's
good.
where we're at.
It's busy.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Anybody have any questions for the board?
I think the calendar, we're probably initially going to print 1,500 units. I think we should be able to sell those pretty easily. A lot of the sponsors are willing to have them for sale in their businesses, which is kind of cool. If we have to print up 500 or 600 or 700, we can, but I think we're gonna start with 1,500 units. Should bring us around $20,000 in net dollars.
Wow. That sounds good. Very good. Anybody else have any other business? We wanted to touch on officer nominations for this board. So I'm not sure where we want to start. I did send out a note to everyone on what you should be thinking about, but the conversation is kind of open in terms of chairman, co-chairman, or, yeah, board chair and co-chair.
So is your term over?
Well, not,
I mean, we could renominate.
right.
You could renominate.
I've been, and if we're following bylaws,
Yeah,
I'm-
following bylaws.
I'm well over,
Oh, you are?
yes,
Okay, so your term's up.
right,
Well, they changed the bylaw.
right.
What?
Right, so,
And we could also discuss the idea that, you know, there's chair, we've had vice chair, whether that's a succession thing or whether that's a new position, that's something else to consider.
well, yeah, so my thinking is, I'd like to be able to continue to assist, but I'm sort of concerned about succession and transition. So,
Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, the natural progression of things would be, yes, that the vice chair would move to the chair, but we don't have that situation.
right, it doesn't have to,
It's flipped.
it doesn't have to happen
So
that
that's
way either.
back when
but-
we had originally discussed the vice chair. Should it be someone who was going to kind of back up and support and then become automatic?
Mhm.
Or should it be
does
more
Or just
of the,
back up and
Does
support
the
and then when
chair,
chair emeritus type thing? And then,
I don't, yeah, we don't have enough people now.
Yeah.
Well-
But I also
Well-
don't think we should be putting new board
would-
members in that
you know,
position.
Correct.
No.
Correct.
so we have
And
So I mean,
one,
this is
two,
sort of our
three,
core,
four,
other than Lucille,
5 and
and we've got a couple more, and Caitlin too, but and we've got a couple of new people coming on board at some point, but then we need to get them up to speed.
I nominate Leslie James.
I declined the nomination.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
I can't take that on right now, sorry. But I appreciate,
Well, I mean,
can I turn about as fair
Yeah.
play and nominate you?
I think it is.
well,
Then we have to find a secretary.
Well, we have Lucille, I think would also be a strong person. She's involved in,
If she's, well, she's got some other stuff
She's
going
got a
on
lot
too.
of- yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna be head of the Rotary.
Are you
right?
Available?
She's taking on Rotary next year.
I don't know where, what I'm doing. I'm gonna be missing 3 months.
You are gonna be missing 3 months?
December, January, February.
I forget, where did you decide to go?
We'll go down south.
Yeah, good point.
So,
Yep,
I don't know
makes
what
that
we're
hard.
doing after that.
So are you leaving in December?
Yeah.
So I was thinking it would be nice to think about, well, change the subject, but just food for thought, to maybe do something a little more social with the December meeting. So if we could have a meeting and then a social, if we wanted to meet somewhere like Widows Walk, and then break and have social, or meet at someone's house and have a social. So, just a thought.
With new members.
With the new members, yeah.
I'm already a chair.
You are a chair? What, are you a
School
chair?
committee.
Right.
I didn't know that
Unless something
happened.
does, someone busy.
Right.
That happens, huh?
Right, I mean, I sort of thought about some of this and everybody's current responsibilities anyways, so,
I
I mean,
have a
I'm
suggestion.
open to,
and I don't
I'm
know
open to
if-
dialogue, but
What do you
I'd
think?
like to have a co-chair, and
Or vice
that could,
chair.
or vice chair, and that could be me helping a new chair, or it could be me staying as board chair and helping a new co-chair,
Yeah,
but,
I mean, we're in October already,
right,
and
Yeah.
I would suggest that we've gone this far without new officers, maybe we could finish out until June, that way it gives the new members some time to get acclimated, and then maybe
I
But
thought about
but we
that.
don't
Yeah.
have a co-chair.
Well, we'd have to nominate a vice
in
chair.
June, yeah,
Vice
or we could,
Oh,
or
I
you
think
mean
we
that.
could do that
and then-
now, because we're
yeah.
filling a role, that's
Right,
obviously,
right.
that's a vice chair.
Just that we've gone this far without changing, and with, yeah, with the new members coming on.
Well, and then what were you, what are you saying then? Come June, we
Fiscal year.
Yeah, JD stays on as.
Well, no,
chair
so
for the-
with
no.
June, my term is over,
completely.
completely on the board,
We're all in that.
right?
So
Oh,
then
you
there
mean-
adds some logic there that you,
So I'm,
for you to remain
I've
as
done
you
two 3-year terms as of this coming June.
Right, so if you stay on until June, and then at that
Correct.
time we can.
Correct.
But as a
Board.
board member, he's also
Correct.
off, so
Right.
then he's not even available to be vice chair.
Right,
Which is, well, if we, that,
But if somebody goes in as vice chair.
yeah, that's some
then-
logic for
Right.
that, so maybe what we're talking about right now is who would be willing to be vice chair at this point, understanding that that may mean, should mean, if it works out, and, you know, you can always, things change, but,
Yeah, or maybe we,
but that
like,
person should
like
be.
maybe we table it
become
until we
chair.
get the new members on board, and
Well,
then
I-
grab one of them, but,
to be a vice chair?
yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think we have good, we
No,
have good
no.
quality, you know,
Right, well, so somebody's gotta step up.
I would be happy to do it if, but I'm not going to do both.
yeah, no, she
Right.
can't be both,
Right.
so I mean, it's.
So somebody would have to assume the secretary.
Now, a new person coming in as secretary is,
And again, we
and maybe
could
that's
do
sort of the way we
co,
should go.
yeah.
I've been secretary more often than I can say, and it's always because
yeah, with the new.
I've been
person
new
on.
somewhere and willing.
Well,
and-
yeah, but you can't sort of assign that to the person walking in.
Sure you can,
I
it
think-
happened to me when I joined this.
Happens to me.
I
It is easy, it's,
can transition it.
Yeah,
It's not that much.
Yeah, but you've gotta be able to put in the time and want to do it.
Well, then, if you have, why would you want to be on the board?
I mean.
Well,
Why would you wanna be on
speak
the
personally, I would
consolidation?
never be a secretary. Because it kills me,
Guys
that
never
the
wanna
time
be
frame
secretary.
kills, the timing kills me.
Yes,
So,
it's
so
okay.
I'm just saying, we're talking
What do you mean
about,
you would never be?
because I can't put the time in to do the notes like you would do it. So, that's my own personal bias. So, asking somebody else to, assuming somebody else is gonna volunteer is a real stretch in my opinion, that's
Well,
all.
I would disagree respectfully.
Yeah,
I think it's sort of like
We
something.
can apply a little pressure to
Well,
people.
but I also think, everybody has to, do some of the, some of the stuff that's.
The grunt work.
The grunt work, thank you.
Mhm. It is a bit, yeah.
And we could go back to co.
Yeah.
Or somebody, takes, shares that responsibility.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
That's it. Do we have any more motions?
I nominate Janice for vice chair.
Yes, second.
Ooh, that was
All
fast.
those in favor?
Just that fast.
Well, does
Just say
that
yes.
feel okay?
Until June.
Until June.
that's fine. I nominate Leslie for co-secretary.
Okay, all right, I'll be back.
Do we have a
Yeah.
second?
I'll have a second.
Second.
And then we'll
And
present
then we'll
at the next
grab one of
meeting
our-
when we have them that we are in need of another co-secretary if
Yeah.
anyone is willing to volunteer.
Okay. So,
There you go.
I'm gonna continue, you're gonna be co,
That's.
Do you need to vote on that?
and you're gonna be
Co-secretary.
co-secretary,
Some other
okay?
future nominee at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody okay with that?
Lucille,
Yes.
okay,
The notes will
scot
never
free.
look like they looked before.
It's all right.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
very good, thank you.
you.
Does anybody else have any other business to raise?
I sent a file.
Oh, okay.
Takes care of it.
Good to go?
Gee, that's
Yeah.
good.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.